how does homing work? In a submarine, you're going to be able to throw torpedoes. You'll be able to shoot torpedoes out on a line, etc. So as you do, the torpedoes are going to trawl along at minus 30% speed. So we're going to go ahead and notice that as minus 30% speed. So if, for instance, you're in a sub that has a 70%, 70 knot torpedoes, 70 knots would be minus 21, which means they trawl along at 49 knots. Is that correct? I believe that's correct. So a 70 knot torpedo is going to be reduced to 49 knots. Why? Because it's going to be waiting for a ping to then accelerate to full speed to interact with it. The reason for this is that if a target that you shot at happens to die and you have to require a new target, or if a target that you've shot out your ping, and at this point, you shot out your ping, you hit the target, and it actually sticks. So now this target has been pinged. At this point, your torpedoes will start to acquire this section of the hull and try to math out, how do we hit that? So if the ship is not moving, then we'll go to blue as a higher speed. If the ship is not moving, it'll simply dial in directly toward the target and just go that way. If the ship starts to accelerate, it's going to start looking to be in front of the target so that it can meet the ship in its movement pattern. So let's just say that right now the ship is going to continue not moving for a little time. And at this point, maybe there's a friendly ship for the enemy. There's a friendly ship for the enemy that happens to see this, and it looks like submarine torps. So he goes ahead and damage cons this ping off. At which point it's going to reduce back down to the 49 knots and continue moving in the same line that it was moving before. But as damage con could be very fast, maybe on a DD or a cruiser lasting 5 or potentially 10 seconds, if this damage con happened and there was still some sufficient distance between point A to point B, well, it's absolutely possible that the sub could simply send out another ping, and with the target reacquired, the torps will then lead in toward that. As for how does homing work, homing is going to go dead, at least by all indications that I've seen, at a certain distance around the target. So because of this reason, if the target starts to accelerate, the homing torps are going to try to curl so that they go dead. They no longer home at this point, and then they're just dumb fire in to try to catch the ship if it's moving forward, or they'll try to turn so that they can dumb fire and catch the ship if it's reversing, or they simply go directly at a ship that's not moving and dumb fire on the way in. The dumbfire is actually fairly close to the hull, except in the case of battleships. Battleships seem to have a very large dumbfire radius, but in terms of DDs and cruisers, and to some extent stubs, it is actually quite tighter. I think this is to encourage subs to have anti-destroyer, anti-cruiser gameplay as opposed to just going after big battleships and shit, because honestly subs don't do a lot of damage to be able to rip into a battleship that was specifically altered to make subs more anti-destroyer, anti-cruiser gameplay. So that's basically what homing is. There's a seeking speed, there's an active maneuvering speed, and it will actively try to maneuver accounting for a dead zone, so that when it crosses the dead zone, it can then dumbfire in to catch a ship that's moving. So if you're in a ship and you kind of learn what the dead zone is, you can use that. For instance, the enemy could use that to try to move forward, but then juke last minute so the torps whiz by. Depends on what ship they're in. But in a battleship, again, it's a very large dead zone, so it's absolutely possible to simply turn lazily to the right or to the left and have the torps completely ignore you.